We're up underneath the vehicle here. 50302. We're changing a starter. Right there is where the starter goes. So we got the exhaust coming down behind it. Oil pan right here. Hope you can see. All right. I got the starter out. And we've got two 13mm bolts. Or half-inch bolts, I should say. Right there. They go there and there. I'm going to show you how to get to that top one as I install. We have our wire right here. It goes to the starter. It's nice and cleaned up. And make sure you disconnect the battery first before doing this, because that can arc off of stuff. Easy peasy. So this new starter came with a new 10mm bolt that wire attaches to. So I gotta take this 10mm out real quick. First thing I'm going to do is attach the wire to the starter. I'm going to attempt to, at least. I'm doing this on the ground outside. We got this wire here, and I am going to just do a little connectoroo here. If I can get her started. It's awkward holding on to the starter and threading a bolt in at the same time, but I'm getting it. Let's see if I can start to tighten it up. Want that wire to face a certain way, so I gotta tilt the starter. I guess it'd be a lot easier if you put the starter on a block or a jack or something, so you have to hold it with one hand and ratchet with the other hand. We're almost there. Want to make sure it's nice and tight. Let it kind of hang a little bit. I bumped my camera. It's all right though. Oh, so awkward. That ought to do. All right, now we're gonna try to slide this starter up into place. There we go. And that little opening, that gear is gonna face the flywheel here. Let's see, we still got a good look. Yeah, pretty good look. Got to get the starter up. There we go. We'll give her a little twist to line it up. And yeah, bada boom, it's in there. It's right where it needs to be. It's kind of sitting there on its own, just barely. And I'm going to use some Loctite. The problem was the bolt started wiggling out over time. And I got a little wiggle in the starter, and it started tearing up the starter every time he would start it. It just slowly chewed up the gear on the starter. A little bit of wear on the flywheel, but you'll be all right. We'll get this first bolt started, the easy one to start. The top one's a bit more difficult. There we go. It's in there pretty tight for finger tight. Let's go. All right, second bolt. Put some Loctite on that baby. Don't want these wiggling back out. Like they did before. All right. Now I have got extenders. See, I've got these little short wobble extenders on there. It really helps with a 13 millimeter. And we're gonna feed this between the exhaust and the motor mount. And it's gonna end up pretty close to where we need to be. And now I'm gonna feed that bolt onto the extender and use my fingertips to keep it on there. And boom, we're in place where the bolt needs to go. And I have started threading it in with my left hand where that extender meets way back there. Oop, I popped off the bolt. And you're gonna pop off the bolt a couple times trying to tighten this. It's tough to get this guy to stay on there. Kind of got to keep the right pressure on the extender way back here. My extender ends up by the sway bar. Get that ratchet on there. Here we go. Now I'm turning it. And I am going to hold my hand, my fingers on the socket while I'm tightening the extender. I'm gonna go switch up my hands. So I got the right hand on the ratchet. The threads are so clean, it's hard to get clicks on my ratchet unless I hold the socket. You can get your hand up in there. Don't do this with the hot exhaust. You can get your hand up in there so that you're keeping the socket right on the head of the bolt. You got a little air ratchet, that'll help, but I'm outside on the ground. You only get a little bit at a time. You know, a fifth of a ratchet turn or so. Tricky part is keeping the socket on the head of the bolt. After we get this one tight, we'll come back and torque the bottom one nice and tight. Make sure our power wire isn't touching anything. Reconnect the battery and she should start up. This is taking a long time to get this bolt tight. And then we got to make sure it's nice and tight with all these extenders. So that exhaust is in the way, so we can't get nothing up in there except for with all these extenders. Ugh. All right, that's tight. Tight. Very tight. Go. Give me my socket back. I gotta retrieve my socket. It's jammed down there. Started twisting at the end. There we go, we got our socket back. Take a little look at where our wire ended up. Yeah, looks good, looks good. I like it. We'll just tighten this bottom one up now. Nice and tight. Don't snap them off or strip out your threads in the bell housing. There we go. I've seen a lot of people strip out the threads in the bell housing. It's just aluminum, guys. Ooh. All right, and that's that. The starter's installed. Reconnect your battery. What's that? 11-minute job? Let's go.